thank you so much for coming and joining us on our Always Closing podcast. We have Miss Dehaven Leniger here, Orange Coast Title. Dehaven, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am Dehaven Leniger. I have been in the industry for 26 years. I started my business in title. For 10 and a half years, I worked in the title industry, and then I became a realtor back in 2011 after my kids graduated from high school. So my husband gave me the opportunity to be a sole proprietor. So I started practicing real estate. I did that for 13 years, and then COVID happened. I did go back to title for a couple of years during COVID. I went back to doing a real estate again, but I just found that I needed something a little bit more solid because real estate is so up and down. And so I wanted to do something that was fulfilling for me, because I do love to pour into people's cups and change, it's just fulfilling for me, because I taught real estate school for 2 years prior to the pandemic. And so I was like, I love teaching. And I never thought of being a title rep, but I just happened one day. I was on Indeed, and I saw that they had an opening at Orange Coast Title for a title assistant. And I sat on the unit for many years. I even was a junior title officer for a little bit, and sit in no office for a long period of time all day, and then traveling on the freeway. I didn't want to do that. I didn't think that's what I was meant to do. And so I happened to call Gloria, and she was like, "You ready?"
Yay.
And I was like, ready?
You're gonna jump in the saddle, you better get in there. Exactly.
And Gloria was my sales rep for almost a decade, for I think 9 years.
Shout out to Gloria.
Shout out to Gloria Cassell, my girl. And so when she said, "Are you ready?" And I was all, "Ready for what?" And then she was like, "To be a title rep." Wow. And it never really dawned on me to be a title rep. I actually, when I was a realtor, I challenged title reps because I come from title. So I knew that they could do more for me in my business than they were. So it took a person like Gloria to really change the game for me, and she did that for me as being a realtor. And I never ever listened to her. I should have, but because of what she was teaching me, now I'm able to teach other agents the things that she taught me. So with that, I'm thankful, Gloria. Thank you so much. And I actually love it. I love it.
I mean, I think like one of the things that really drew me to you is you already have such a nurturing feeling.
Thank you.
You just feel so motherly and so warm.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that really resonates to when you like you said, you love to mentor people and take people under your wing and show them, just
I do.
based off of all the experiences that you've been through.
Yeah, because when I became a realtor, no one wanted to show me anything. No one wanted to teach me anything. They cultivated the information. They didn't want to share on how they were getting their listings. And I didn't want to ever be that type of person, because I feel like our God-given gifts should be shared. Definitely. And so I'm just doing what I know, and I'm sharing my gifts with the agents that want to work with me, and I'm so grateful, and it feels good to do that.
It's just so nice to hear that you'd really focus on spreading the wealth and knowledge.
Yeah.
Because it's not like a competition, it's just we're all in this together. This industry is up and down every day, as you know, and it's refreshing to hear that kind of perspective, which I appreciate you.
There's so much abundance of business out here.
There really is. You have to be driven and ready to work, for sure.
Exactly. And I teach my real estate agents not to be the salesy real estate agent. I want my agents to be the resource of real estate and be able to have clients that always come back to them because they know their stuff. And so what way to do that than for myself to show them how to be a different type of realtor.
Right. So how long were you a realtor? You mentioned 13
years.
Now that you've been you had a background in being a real estate agent and you're in the title, do you miss being an agent?
I do.
Which field do you prefer now that you've already dabbled in both?
Well, I did love being a real estate agent. A lot comes behind being a real estate agent,
Yes.
and you have to have a support system in order to practice real estate. If you don't have the support system behind you emotionally, because it's a lot of emotion, because there's a lot going on, there's a lot of moving parts being a realtor,
Right.
and it could be very stressful.
Very.
And not knowing where your next dollar is going to come from, not knowing if you're making your client happy,
Right.
not knowing a lot of things while you're practicing real estate, because it's a lot. It's a lot.
There's just so many, like you said, there's just moving variables.
Yeah, you don't want to be sued, you know? So you're trying to make sure you're doing everything right, and it could be tough. And like I said, if you don't have the support system, it could be very, very difficult for you to maintain in the business. And so for me, I needed that support, and you know, I don't want to get all off into that, but I didn't have that anymore, and so I needed something that made me feel good every day to wake up in the morning without the stress. And so now I'm doing something where I don't feel stressed. I feel good, and it's like, rah, rah, let's go.
I mean, what's the secret then? What do you do to decompress from this such a stressful environment every day? Because every day is stressful in our market, right? I mean, we're constantly dealing with deadlines and clients and transactions. So what do you do?
I think waking up in the morning and giving glory to God for Him just keeping my head right, and just being grateful and sitting in gratitude every day. And I think that's what motivates me to know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I feel like I'm operating in my purpose, and for that, I know I can't go wrong. So I think that's what does it for me. I have a beautiful granddaughter that I'm raising, and she's a lot of my motivation, and all of my grandkids are.
Right.
But just to know that I'm living in purpose does it for me.
Good.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about why it's so important to have a great title rep or officer involved. Why is it so important to use title?
Well, it's important to use title because I think that a title rep should know what it goes with your business, and can relate to what your needs are as a realtor. Me being a former realtor and a title rep now, I can relate to what they go through, and I actually know what they need, because if you don't know what the processes are of practicing real estate, how can you be a great rep? Right? And I think educating yourself and knowing what the people outside public need as homeowners from a rep,
Right.
Because that's the last step of real estate and to close a deal, and the importance of being able to give valuable information and making sure you're not missing the mark, because a lot of homeowners are not educated. I think if a realtor's educated, the homeowner's educated.
Sure.
And so even though a lot of brokerages do give education, but there's a lot of other things that they don't know that us as reps can share with them, on the Prop 19 measures, the outside of that, not the car forms, you know. I think that's important.
Well, for sure, because like even if they know like the propositions or they know, I feel like they still need to be guided just because of the terminology.
Yeah.
They're just not used to the way that we word things or what we are understanding of things. So it's just, like you said, more about mentoring, guidance, and definitely that education part. But it's so like, even earlier, I keep telling you, like, it's so cool for me, though, that you are always willing. And I know you've told me many times, like, if there's a struggling agent out there that you know of, or any new agents out there that are looking to get into the market, like, please, like, send them my way. I'd be super open to, like, mentoring them or leading them into the right direction and sharing that education.
Yeah.
Can you think of, like, a specific agent or somebody you kind of took under your wing?
So yes, I love working with these millennials because they're a different breed. They actually, they're very technology based, but also I think that the way that they do things is just so sophisticated.
Yes.
And I think that they're easier to educate because they're not just a one trick pony. They actually do a lot more than just the one thing. And they're kind of fun, and they're appreciative, you know, because what else better than to learn from someone who's old school but yet is kind of new school too.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the best of both worlds, for sure.
The best of both worlds. So I can let you know that I actually can pretty much target an agent that I know is tenacious and that wants to do the work.
Right.
But I also can identify the agent that doesn't really want to do that.
Yeah.
And not gonna work very hard. So myself, like I said, I've wore many hats. I even was a productivity coach for Keller Williams when I was an agent. So I coached it. I know.
But I feel like that, and I feel the same way sometimes. Like I dabbled in so many different things, and I feel like it just gives you like that edge over people because you've experienced like all these different things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have to go through those things to get to where you're at right now.
Exactly. But the agent that wants to learn and that's going to take your tips and utilize them is going to be the one that's going to be successful.
Right.
And so with that said, just by teaching them how to exercise the Prop 19 in their open houses and identifying who is your buyer, who is the person walking through the door that may be that seller, that you may get that listing. Those are the things you want to be aware of, you know, and so you're not there just to sell a house, you're there to market yourself.
Exactly.
And that's what's going to bring the business. And it comes with personality, it comes with being knowledgeable, it comes with showing how you perform. Because if you're performing in a way where it's going to be attracting to a seller, it's just like you're marketing. You're like a someone on a shelf.
It is so true.
You know,
So true.
It's like when you go shopping and you got the can and you're going to purchase that can. You don't get the can that's dented.
Exactly.
You'll put that one.
You put that one at the back of the shelf.
Yeah, then you'll get the can that's shining, right?
That makes so much sense though, because and not only that, but it's not only. I mean, most likely it won't be the only transaction that you're building that relationship with.
No.
I mean, you're looking to build a connection for a lifetime. For sure.
Yeah.
So.
And you know, you just never know. They need support too.
Right.
They need support too.
Definitely.
Because they're going to have tough days. And I always tell my agents, call me. You need a pep up, I'm going to talk to you.
Yeah, well, you guys heard it first. Right? This is your girl. I'm telling you guys, this is your girl. And that's even crazy because I was just thinking the other day, like, even let's just say, and first of all, I just have to throw this out there because I just learned this the other day.
Okay.
What do you think is the average age for a first-time home buyer?
Right now, millennials are buying early. We weren't even thinking about buying a home in our 20s. They're buying houses in their early 20s now, which I think is just like, for me, I love that. I love that. Get it out the way now so you can live the rest of your life later. So by them wanting to purchase a home right now is so admiring. I love that. I think it's in the early 20s, to be honest.
You know what? It might be for the people who, for example, like your granddaughter, and I'm sure that you've put it in her head and like driven it point by point, drilled it in her head that she should definitely look at investing in real estate. But can you believe that actual average age of a home buyer is 52 years old right now?
Well, in this market, now.
In this market,
I just heard that. In this market.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah,
though?
That's wild.
So wild.
It's wild.
But again, when you have the right people around you, when you are aware of the market, when you educate yourself on that, then you definitely have a better understanding of what can I do as a millennial or as a younger home buyer? What can I do to put myself in that position to really, put myself out there and start reaping the benefits of investing in real estate?
Yeah.
So that's so crazy.
The one thing that I noticed that a lot of these young people, Even though that they're young, they're still knowledgeable. If they're knowledgeable, that they shouldn't be intimidated about working with someone that's older.
Right.
Because to me, being older myself, I find that admiring when I see a young person out there hustling and coming to work every day, especially as a self-employed person, being disciplined and knowing what they want for themselves. Man, that right there, that's a rock star.
That's a recipe to success for sure. Because a lot of the millennials that I know, they're not the same. They're not cut from the same cloth as what we were, right?
I know when I was in my 20s, I wasn't thinking about working. I was thinking about partying. So
definitely,
yeah, it's different.
But can you share with us a story of maybe a transaction that's been a little bit hard to deal with, or something that you can think of that you've had to kind of navigate through?
So I just one thing about being in title, and I just share this with all realtors. If you want to learn how to understand documents, please call me, because I think it's very important in your business to know what to look out for when you're taking a listing.
So true.
Because documents can be either a great thing if it's right, but it can also be a downplay on your business if it's not. And the one thing you always want to do is shine in your business.
Yes.
But if you're not educated and not knowing on what to look out for, especially when you're taking a listing and you get in, and let's just put it like this. I'm going to just paint the picture for you. Let's just say you have a listing. It's been on the market for like three months, because listings are a little longer right now on the market.
Right.
Let's just say you've been on the market for 3 to 6 months. Or you finally get an offer. Great. Yay. Your seller is excited, right? But then you get into escrow, and then, title has a problem. There was a transfer done that wasn't insured, and now it has to go to probate. How do you think your seller's going to feel with you being a professional?
Well, first of all, the deal will most likely be dead, because probate, as we all know, takes forever.
Right.
And I don't know any buyer who's willing to wait through that entire process.
Absolutely.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I've seen many times where there's deeds that people who aren't taught the right way in order to create these kind of documents will create these documents with the right intentions, nothing against them, but they just aren't done correctly.
Yes.
Little do they know it hinders the entire process and can really set you back, like what you're saying, going to probate, for example.
Exactly, because what it does is it creates a cloud on title. And sometimes those clouds on title cannot be fixed without going to probate. And see, what happens is if you're in that particular case, your seller could be very upset with you because you should have known. And so to prevent that from happening, you always want to make sure that you know the difference between an insured deed versus an uninsured deed.
Right.
That's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to save you a lot of heartache. And if you're on the market and you've wasted all this time and money, especially for your client, to come back to have to tell them bad news, and you should have been the one that knew.
Oh, definitely.
And so to prevent all that, if you see that, and this is the reason why I want to educate my agents in knowing what to look out for, because it's very important, especially when they're in transaction. I have been intentional about sharing with my agents what to look out for, the difference, and I find them being very excited to know that they're learning something, because a lot of us as realtors, me being a former realtor, they don't know, because that's not something that the brokerage teaches them.
Right, it's not.
So they don't know what to look out for on grant deeds and transfers. And another thing is that I find to be very popular right now is women that have boyfriends that want to go on title because they're paying the mortgage,
or because they're married,
or married
all the time.
But wait a minute. Let me just say this. Do you know what your boyfriend or new husband has behind him, like child support liens,
Yes.
our IRS liens,
Oh.
all that attaches.
Any judgments? Yeah,
Any
all of
judgments,
that, all of that.
that attaches. And so, with that said, you really want to know before you put anyone on title with you. Let me do a GI check. Let me see what comes back on that general information.
Right.
Before you get your name on my home. Okay. So,
or do they want them to do that little background check on them because all those skeletons are going to start popping
I'm
back
trying to
about.
tell you.
You're trying to save that boyfriend or husband.
And yourself.
And yourself.
Exactly. Because these are things that we're not educated on.
No, for sure.
And the public doesn't know. It's not like we have commercials saying, hey, before you transfer title, you need to know this. No, a lot of people don't know that.
No, I know.
So you might want to check with your title to see if that's something that you're going to want to do moving forward prior to.
Can you quickly share with the audience, like, what is the difference? And we can shorten it down just from an insured deed versus an uninsured deed.
So an insured deed is going to have the title company stamp on it. Okay. Anytime a title company stamp is on the top of a transfer deed, that is insured.
Okay. Certified by the actual title company, everything. It's legit.
Yes. Okay. Now, and it's normally under the requested by. At the top.
Okay.
Left-hand corner.
Perfect.
If it's accommodation, it's not insured. If it is just something that you've done on your own, you took it to the recorder's office, it's not insured. So normally the insured deed has a title policy up behind it. It is insured. But anything other than that is not. So that's what you want to look out for.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for explaining all that to us. Yes. What would be your biggest advice to somebody looking to get into the market right now? What would be your, I guess if you could even talk to like a younger self of yourself when you're first becoming an agent, what would be your words of wisdom to them?
To a real estate agent? To try to learn as much as possible. It's not going to be something you can learn all in a day. It's almost like
a process.
It is a very process because every day you're learning, and you really don't learn until you're in transaction because they're all different. No transaction is ever the same. There's a lot going on.
Right.
So to me, the way that I learned is through transaction. And I also made mental notes, and I even wrote them out. What would I have done different in this transaction that I won't do in my next transaction? Because, like I said, they're all different. I made plenty of mistakes along the way being a realtor that I'd be like, God dang, like why'd you do that? You know, so it's a learning process, and it's only sharpening your sword.
It's so true.
Every time.
So true. It's definitely trial by error. And
it is.
For you to be able to even admit that and say like, hey, you know what, I made a mistake, but I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to make sure that in the future it's only going to make me stronger.
Yes.
Then, I mean, I don't know how else you can promote yourself because we're all human. However, your main goal is to always have that answer for your clients. And I appreciate you so much, Dehaven, for sharing with us.
You're very welcome. But one more thing I wanted to share with you realtors, because I was famous for this. If your seller doesn't call you back right away after leaving a message, don't panic. We all have lives.
Yes.
It's not all about you.
Right.
You know, so don't always think that because your seller's not getting back to you that you're the problem. We all have lives. We all go through things. You don't know what your seller's going through. You don't know what your buyer's going through. So don't always think it's you. Just be like, I'm going to wait for him to call. And when they call, be like, hey.
Like nothing ever happened. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so when you do that, it actually helps you with your own self, and just to know the difference that you don't want to, you just don't want to always think it's about you. Right. Because it just may not be. So I just wanted to leave you with that.
Well, thank you so much, Dehaven. We got Dehaven here from Orange Coast Title.
Yes.
Quickly, before we wrap everything up, explain one more time the areas that you cover. And even though I'm sure she will go above and beyond for anybody reaching out to her, but just what areas do you cover at this
Okay,
moment?
so I cover Chino Hills, Pomona, Claremont. I go out west to Covina, Walnut, West Covina, Azusa, San Dimas, Diamond Bar, Arcadia, Azusa.
Oh, wow. You're all over. She's
I'm
all over the place. She's literally all
Baldwin
over the
Park,
place.
La Puente.
Look at her go. Any and everywhere.
And I haven't
she's
even
needed.
got out there yet. I'm still trying to like get through what I have right now. So
Well, it just shows how much of a hustler you are.
well, you know, I'm gonna get there. Just call me.
You guys heard it from her. Thank you so much, Dehaven.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate being
Yes,
here.
of
And I
course.
anything you may need, you can reach me at Orange Coast Title. My number is 951-259-1095. You can shoot me an email, dehavenl@octitle.com. I'm your girl. I'm trying to get it. So let's get it together.
To get it. And any comments, remarks, questions, you guys feel free to leave them down below. And then we could even put them on the next podcast. We can answer some of those questions that people might have.
Sounds great.